Okay, so last week we started with our first triangle piece. We folded our paper, we cut a square, we folded it 3 times to achieve this size triangle. Your triangle should be about the size of your hand. If it's bigger, you missed a fold. And then we wrote our name and we made sure that it's open at the top and at the bottom and it fills up the space. So now what we're going to do is we're going to erase any pencil lines that are left over. You should have just some nice bubble letters, and you either traced your bubble letters with black marker like I did, or you went over them several times to make them really dark with a pencil or a pen. Now what we're going to do is we're going to unfold, start opening up our piece. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for where I could see my piece backwards. So I could actually see D-A-V-I-S backwards, and I'm going to trace what I see. And if you're having difficulty seeing, don't put it on just a flat surface. That makes it more difficult. You might need to go to a light source, like a window. I have my light table on, and now it's very clear to see that I have D-A-V-I-S, backwards S. And what you're going to do is you're going to use a pencil and you're going to trace what you see. Trace what you see. Sometimes students get confused and think I'm just making this up again. I'm not. I could see through my paper by adding the light source to the back. Sometimes you don't even need a light source, but adding the light source to the back makes it very clear exactly what I should trace. And then what I'm going to do after I do that is I'm going to open it up. And now I have like butterfly wings. It looks the same. I see D, D, A, A, V, V, I, S, S. And what I'm gonna do is I want to fold this in half. It could be folded like a triangle, or I could fold it in half like a rectangle. Either way, you can do it. You're going to turn it over and you're going to continue to trace. Now it's very clear to see where my letters are right here with the Sharpie. I may have to go over a few times with the pencil to darken them. Now I'm going to turn it over and I can see through my paper, and I'm going to trace again. Maybe I'll do both at the same time. That created a B. The 2 D's created a B, and I'm tracing my geometric shapes like my triangles. And I'm tracing what I see. I'm not recreating the wheel. I'm not drawing Davis over and over again from memory. I'm tracing exactly what I see. Again, if you aren't seeing through your paper, get up and go to a window and use the light that shines through the window as your light box, like I'm using my light box. Then I'm going to open it again, and now it's going around. So now I have 1/8, 2/8, 3, 4. I have half of my art done and half is undone. So I'm going to fold it again like a rectangle. and I'm going to check it. I'm going to go around the circle with my fingers, 2 half circles, 2 half circles, 2 half circles, 2 half circles, triangle, weird rectangle, triangle, triangle, weird rectangle. Oh, I'm missing a triangle. So what I could do is just fold it again. I forgot to trace that triangle, and I'm going to open it back up, and I'm going to check it all around. Then I'm going to go to the V up. The V's make 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles, half of a triangle is here, so I'm going to fold it again. Just check for any mistakes, and then what I'm going to do once I have it, so that I have all 8 pieces traced, I have my mandala. I'm going to stop there and save it for next week. Before getting started, I want you to check your triangle to make sure that it's going to be good to work with for the next steps of the project. I have some bad examples here, and what I wanted to show is like different folds. If your folds are not straight or lined up, or you have things hanging off, this is going to cause problems when you're trying to fold and trace. Also, you could see that my letters don't go completely up to the top, and it's just going to look really, it's not going to connect and make this beautiful design that the A connects here. It's going to be closed off. So this, if your stuff looks like hanging over, or your letters are in the middle and not quite to the top, I would start over here. This example, it's folded correctly, it's nice and flush, but look how our letters are. I have them colored in, and it's just when I go to trace, I'm not going to know what to trace. So if it's looking messy like this, I would stop and start over, make sure it's nice and lined up, and then do proper bubble letters. Bubble letters should look like this. They go to the top, they're open at the bottom, they're nice and neat. You have lines that you're going to be able to see and trace. But the problem with this one is, see how much bigger it is than my hand? Test yours now to make sure it's not bigger than your hand, because if it's this big, I only folded 1 time, 2 times, and then you're not going to have the 8 rotations, you're just going to have 4, and it's just not going to be as good. So make sure when you fold, like I couldn't draw on this one because that's already in there, but it should be the size of your hand or smaller. And then this is another non-example of just like it's not lined up well. It's drawn correctly, but you're going to get frustrated when you start tracing through and things aren't going to line up, and it's going to leave big gaps. So make sure that your art is folded properly. Your letters go to the top and bottom, they're left open. I know this doesn't look very much like a T, it has a slant line, but that it will be better for our art when we're rotating it around than if something's closed off like this. So make sure your template, again this is my Davis template, when we had our square paper we took it and we did the fold 1 triangle, 2 triangles, 3 triangles, and I have a nice neat triangle, and my letters go open, and it's like that. That'll make the next steps of your project easier. So if you take the time now to make sure this is correct before you move on. You're going to follow the steps to repeat your name 8 times around the square, and once you do, stop there and save it for next week. Remember, before you're done with art class for the day, you need to do your exit ticket. At this point, exit ticket 1 through 4 should be complete. One way to make sure you have a square, it's perfectly square, and you could just trace along the edge, and then you can cut, and you would have a perfect square. And I could cut that little rectangle off, and then you'll touch corner to corner, and I'm going to fold it exactly how I see on my directions, corner to corner. Make sure the lines are straight, and then I'm creasing. After you do that, you're going to fold it in half again, and it looks like they fold it this top corner down to the bottom corner. And then you're going to fold it one more time, corner to corner in half. When you pick your name, you're doing bubble letters and you're picking only 3, 4, or 5 letters. So I'm going to do Davis. I'm going to do a very small stick letter D. These are planning lines, so they're light. A medium A, it gets a little bit bigger because I'm going from the top to the bottom. The biggest letter, V. A straight line for the I, and then an S. Then what I'm doing is I'm going to, you can do this still using a pencil, but I want it to show up a little bit more for the camera, so I'm going to do it with a Sharpie. I'm going to go next to the letter D, touching the top to the bottom, next to the letter D, and then inside of the D, and I have a bubble letter D. Again, next to the A, next to the A, inside of the A, and under the A. Then I'm going to do next to the V, next to the V, above the V. And see how I have the table saver, it catches the mess because I'm going right off the page. And then next to the I, and next to the I, and then next to the S, and next to the S. And I have bubble letters for Davis. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to erase the middle, the stick letters, and I have bubble letters.